What's up, everybody? It is Welcome to China and welcome to my channel. And today we are going to kick it over and get into Bridgerton. But today I have a very, very special guest, you guys. I'll drop the accent because you guys need to listen to this. I have my wonderful, wonderful friend, Miss Tanya D. Tanya Talks TV. Tanya, the best movie reviewer, the best TV show reviewer, and one of my dear, dear friends, Tanya. Tanya, introduce yourself.
Hello. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited. We have been trying to do this for so long. I'm so glad it's really happening.
All right, y'all. So we're about to get into Bridgerton, and I'm adjusting my light because I look like a ghost. This is better. All right, y'all. So we're going to go ahead and get into Bridgerton today. This isn't going to be a review. This isn't going to be a boring recap, but we're going to have a talk about Bridgerton. So for those who may not know, Bridgerton is a Netflix series that came out at the end of December. So Shonda Rhimes, you guys may know her from Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, all of my favorite shows from back in the day and still present. She has her own show that we've been waiting on that's based in England, but it also has a modern twist with some really cool actors that we've never seen before, and the soundtrack is amazing. So I think that the first thing we should talk about is, let's talk about the music, Tanya.
Oh, the music. I am so obsessed with the music.
I
love how, the show is based in England, like you said, but it's a period piece. So we are in times when we didn't have modern day music. We didn't have rap music. We didn't have pop. It was very much classical. And so that's what I really love about the show.
I love that.
Able to take modern music like Ariana Grande's Thank You Next.
Oh my God, when I heard that, I was like, is that Thank You Next playing on a violin?
Yeah, right at the beginning, it was the first episode, and so you're just trying to get a feel for who these characters are, what's their story, and then they're going to a ball, and all of a sudden the song starts playing, and you're like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah, it brings that. I feel like a lot of people, I feel like everyone started watching Bridgerton and I can't think of the word.
Waves.
And waves or bouts. Everyone, you kind of be watch it. Then everyone started to feel like, I'm not watching something boring. This is
that's exactly it. And I don't like Downton Abbey and shows like that, or The Crown. It's just so I can never get I can't ever get into it. And so this one, I was watching it just because it's Shonda Rhimes. I wouldn't have watched it if it wasn't a Shonda Rhimes show. I'm obsessed with those shows. So this, I knew what I was going into. Let's say that much, because this show, I think a lot of people don't know what they're going into because they think that, it's a period piece. It's going to be really slow. It's going to be, it's not going to be good, but
definitely not slow. And everyone got through the show so quickly. And once you convinced everyone to start watching it, it was we need a second season. I think it said it got renewed for 8 more seasons or something crazy. Did you see that?
Yeah, I was reading that, but I didn't know if it was true or not. So I mean, that would be amazing. But
I mean, it's a Shonda show. That's her territory. She has seasons on top of seasons on every show.
And you can definitely tell why she wanted to come to Netflix for sure and get off of cable television.
That's what I'm saying. I feel okay, we'll go ahead and get into it. We're gonna go ahead and get into the Daphne and the Duke. So I think that right now, let's talk about Daphne.
Yeah.
Because the thing surrounding Daphne is, we'll talk about Daphne. So Daphne is the protagonist, the sweet little dainty woman who's one of the most beautiful in her family, and it's time for her to get married.
Oh, she's flawless. She is, as the queen said, flawless.
Flawless. And how old is Daphne? She's how old is she? 17? Something like that?
Yeah, I think she's 17. I didn't read the books though. Have you read the book?
Girl, I'm not a reader like that.
I like watching my books.
I watch my books, so let's get into it. So she's young, y'all. She's about 15, 16, 17. You know, back in the day that it didn't matter. So it's basically time for her to get married. So this is surrounding, her getting courted and all these different type of men. So her older brother, who we'll talk about later, has an old friend who is the Duke. But I really want to talk about her relationship with the Duke. So we already know that Daphne and the Duke end up getting together. They have to get married, whatever. But the thing for me was, I felt like Daphne was such a strong protagonist character. I feel like she still had a lot to her. Yet, I feel like the virginity aspect just overshadowed her whole plot. I just feel like it was, I get the virginity thing, but I think she had a lot more to offer. And I feel like that's the only thing that people were stuck on was Daphne losing her virginity. I get it's a big deal, and I get it's the rest of it. It's more serious to come. But I felt like, she did good things for Marina. She did, she was a stand-up girl still. She had to find out about sex. It was a lot of other things too. But what do you feel?
No, I definitely agree with that. I think that, I mean, obviously the show is very sexualized, but as it needed to be, but whenever you look at those circumstances and you overlook the actual details in the story, that's when it becomes problematic. I do agree with you. I think that her character, whenever she was helping others out, you're like, look, she's so caring, and
you see her as a person. Yeah,
and she does truly want to help others, and she knows that, like, what her mom did wasn't right, what's going on with their families isn't right, but she just wants to help out. And I think that whenever you're not looking at those positive aspects and just looking at one situation that happened, and if you really want to think about it, she wanted to become a wife. She wanted to become a mother. That's what she, like, her purpose in life was to do that. But she, like, also wants to do other things too. So that's why I think that her character is really beautiful that way.
Yeah, and like her wanting to do other things. I know I don't know if you remember the scene. It was a small scene, and she was like, "How do you like live?" They were at a ball or something, and her and the Duke were already married at this point. They were going through it, and they were talking about living like a loveless marriage. And she just came to the Duke, and remember they weren't talking, and they walked past each other, and she just had it stuck in her mind until they made up, the other day, that, hey, this is just going to be that. We don't marry for love. This is going to be my circumstances. We kind of do our own thing. And, I like that about her, because she didn't just cave in and just give in. She just said, all right, I'll be one of those women. She's not going to keep trying. I felt like she tried enough with the Duke at that time. And yeah. So anything else on that aspect before we get into the juicy part about Daphne?
No, I love her. I think she's cute. I love her clothes, and she's just very, I don't know. She knows what she wants. That's what I like about her. She definitely knows what she wants, and definitely her lifestyle is not relatable, but I think that going after something you want in such like a strong way, that's what can resonate with everyday character or with everyday people.
That escalated so quickly. I will say I didn't expect her and the Duke to really get married for real. I was like, I think this was going to drag out when all that happened.
Just how quickly everything happened. Yeah, I didn't expect that at all. But and that makes me wonder how quickly are the time gaps? How long are the time gaps going to be in the future seasons? If we have 8 more seasons, are we going to see the same cast? Are we going to see, and it being Shauna Lynn, we probably won't.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of growth, and it might be, the stories about the generations to come.
Yeah. And showing their family, and now they're going to have the baby. So yeah, I'm interested to see that as well. Because a lot of the actors on the show are still older actors. They're still playing, much younger than their characters. But I think that that's something that's like a big aspect as well, because they have like good seasoned actors and actors we haven't necessarily seen before. So the thing that we talked about a little bit before now has been the circulation of the R, the R and between her and the Duke. So do you feel like Daphne did take advantage of the Duke during the scene after she found out about the situation sexually between the two? And she forced him to basically get on top of him.
I think that she did that with intentions of creating a child.
Yes.
And if you take that situation that happened and you put it in modern day, that would be considered rape. Like, that's it. Like, so I don't think that, and I know that people have been talking about that, and it's something that you watch on screen, you're like, wait, what's going on? And he's
I think it was very glossy though. It wasn't like so like straightforward. Because it still was like, he said no, but they still glamorized the situation in itself.
Oh, it's so beautiful. The music looked nice. They look beautiful. You're not like, you don't feel like bad about it. And it's just like at the, but that's the thing. That's the thing about Hollywood. You're able to take like weird situations like that and make them glamorous, make them beautiful. make them regal.
Literally. So yeah, I think that was really interesting. I think it did help their relationship in an element. She forced him to do that and have the child, but it did bring them closer, the baby. But we all know in modern day times, the baby ain't always enough. So something that I do think about, I think that they will probably have some ups and downs still between, because they didn't know each other. They were still definitely in the honeymoon phase. That's not me being negative. It's just kind of the reality of how things are sometimes. So we'll get into the Duke now. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the Duke. So the Duke of Hastings was a duke who didn't want to have children. The internet has called him the pull-out king. Everyone thinks he is beautiful and fine, but he has his vices as well. A scene that stuck out to me mostly with the Duke was him and his father's scene. The reason why he didn't want to have kids in the first place, I feel, give or take, was ultimately he didn't want his father to have an heir. He wanted to be spiteful, and he didn't really, have that love just to want a family. So my question I want to open up is the Duke, or is any man wrong for not wanting to have a family?
Well, okay, so in the Duke's situation, he told his dad on his deathbed, he vowed to him, I thought, I'm never going to have a child. So I think that's a little bit of a difference than if someone did that in a normal situation, oh, I just don't want to have kids,
but because you say vow to him, but his father still wanted him to have an heir, didn't he?
Oh yeah, very much so, because he wanted his name to live on.
Yeah. So he did it purposely.
Yeah, and so yeah, he did that in spite of him. Yeah. And it wasn't the most noble vow for sure, but he said that in his mind, I think that he truly believed that this is the last thing I told my father.
Mm-hmm. And that so was a promise.
I'm gonna live by these words because of the resentment and childhood trauma I haven't worked through yet.
The Duke need to go through some therapy. He got a lot on his chest.
He definitely needs a good therapist, that's for sure.
Yeah, I will definitely say that as well. So something else I wanted to talk about was the Duke and his relationship with Daphne's older brother. So I see him, he's sitting behind you. Now, the way that they met was, it was kind of a mutual thing, and their little first relationship, it kind of started off with them protecting each other. And I will say that I didn't necessarily believe that the Duke was starting to like Daphne. I thought he was still playing around. I thought he was still had a motive to just get people off his back as well. So when they started to fall in love and the brother started to get upset about it, I was kind of surprised that the brother got upset. I get it, but I still felt like he's a Duke. But what do you feel about that?
I think that whenever you're friends with someone for so long, it would be so weird to just be oh yeah, I want to marry your sister. So that's how I think of it. Obviously he's a Duke, so if you're looking at it in a sibling sense, of course you want the best for your sibling, and so if they are able to marry a Duke, go for it. But that's an iffy situation. That's awkward also, but you'll see friendships that turn into family, never love and stuff like that. So that's it's okay.
It's common. It's more common. Okay, so that's really how. That's really what I got on the Duke. I feel like the Duke storyline was pretty straightforward. I know that the big issue and the big funny thing was him pulling out and not wanting to get her pregnant and all those things. But I think that was still very straightforward about the Duke. And I feel like the next season, the season's going on, that's not a thing anymore. They're married now. They're having unprotected sex. So what happens now between the Duke and Daphne.
I think the thing to think about also is the brother is now having his own love life, and he has his other siblings to think of now too.
Yeah.
In this situation, it was courting season for Daphne, and she had to get married by the end of this time, to honor her family, and it's just another generation of family since her father has passed away too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that has a lot to do with it. So the brother can, he can calm down now.
Yeah, he can focus on
she gave another, she had an heir, so it's all good.
And we good on that, so we can keep it pushing. Okay. All right. So next is Marina. So Marina was one of my favorite second tier characters. Nothing of anything being biased. But I think that we should talk about, well, first I'll talk about Marina. So Marina is a character that comes to live with the lady and Lord Featherington. And Lord Featherington owed a debt to her father, who was a farmer. So in trade, they brought Marina over with her own little issues, her own problems, and ultimately found out what she was with child with a fallen soldier who we know have passed away. And she's pregnant here and she wants to marry Daphne's brother and all this drama. But ultimately, the one thing is this. Marina is black, she's biracial, she's some person of color, okay? That's very clear. She has curly hair, she looks racially ambiguous, she's some type of black. And people had issues with them introducing her as the pregnant girl to come through because Black folks have high rates of pregnancy in our community. You know, people always, push down Black people. So, people felt like that was just something that was, a little shisty. Like, we didn't like that. But I didn't really see it that way, only because I really liked Marina's character and I seen her more than that. I thought she was in depth and she was in love. She didn't have a true relationship. She didn't have a baby daddy, per se. But what do you think about that? When you see Marina, did you see her as like being a Black girl who's pregnant?
No, not at all. So I saw that situation. It's really interesting that you said that. I hadn't heard that take on it. I saw her, she is this young, beautiful woman coming into the house, but the mother is already stressed out because her daughters are messes and she is unable to get them wed. And so she sees this girl, she sees that she gets suitors right away. Mm-hmm. And obviously there's that tension and why is I saw it as she's going to take all of the people who my daughter could have, Yeah. I saw the race thing more of how people were talking about the time of this show. Whenever the show is in the 1800s, and so they're saying that there weren't Black families of royalty back then. And
so do you think they just did colorblind casting?
I don't even think it's that. I think it's the world that Shonda Rhimes has created. She is all about inclusivity and diversity, and whether that's, with people of color, whether it's the LGBTQ community. I think that she always just wants to show all people because that's what the world is.
Grey's Anatomy had a bunch of interracial relationships.
Grey's is a perfect example of it because she has every single thing with her. The lesbian couples, they were the first to really be showcased in that way, in that light. And so having shows like this is really great for people to be able to have a conversation with their families. Even if this is a bit raunchy and hard to watch with your family, you can still watch it and say, do you see the difference between this and see the difference between The Crown and Downton Abbey and whatever other ones I can't think of because
it gives you flavor and period. In college I studied period styles. We had to wear courses and do all that, but it was still interesting. It's still juicy. They still had a lot of sex. They did snuff. They did all types of stuff. They went to balls. They had affairs. This was definitely not all innocent. People weren't just walking around, not sowing their good oats. They were having fun.
Some scenes that you're like, am I watching softcore porn?
Exactly.
Basically, that's what's on my screen, and I'm gonna turn the volume down because there's people in the house.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're gonna circle back to Marina, and so ultimately we know that her boyfriend at the time, who was a soldier, had passed away. They were writing letters, and then the little sister, I cannot remember her name. I'm blanking on her name. Penelope. Phoebe?
Penny, yeah, Penelope. I love Penelope.
You love Penelope. So Penelope, ultimately finds out, and then we find out that she's in love with the brother.
Oh man, her story. I felt so bad for her. But let's finish her.
So she's next. So she ends up telling everyone, and about Marina basically being pregnant by someone else. Now, do you think Marina should have came clean?
See, I think that back then, whenever you had sex before you were married,
that was it.
You were ruined. You were ruined as a woman, and so it was something that was very disgraceful.
Yeah.
And so she wanted to keep it a secret no matter what, because, she didn't want that for her life. That's the only thing I really think of that situation, whenever I see that. I really don't think she was trying to be malicious. And yeah, it was really shitty what she did to the brother to try to like get him to get like that was wrong.
I thought that they were actually gonna like pull through with that. I was like, that's kind of a good idea. But
that was wrong.
Really liked her.
You shouldn't do things like that to people. Don't take notes, people. Don't do that.
I wasn't saying it was right. I said it was a good idea. I was like,
yeah, the idea, I think that her determination and her like drive was definitely there.
Okay. So yeah, that's Marina. Ultimately fell through, as we know. It didn't work out. So I wonder if she's ever gonna come back, but we'll see next season, right? Next, Penelope. Let's talk about Penelope. So she was someone who is Lady Featherington's daughter. She's one of the younger daughters. She's very beautiful. She's very cute. Obviously, like her character type is she's a little bit chubbier. That she had an issue getting married. People did definitely, push that narrative on her. And again, that's how I feel about the Daphne thing. Like they still, like I understand we have these character types. Everyone has to be different. But I felt like now we think that she's, XOXO Gossip Girl. At this point, she's the one holding all the tea. So let's I want you to talk about her. What do you feel about her? I feel like she's such an intricate character. I think that you'll be able to
Penelope.
Yeah.
So Penelope, I love her character because there's a lot to her.
Yeah.
Whenever we see her, she's very quiet and she just wants to be a part of something. Mm-hmm. And you see that she is so madly in love with the brother. And I could totally relate to just oh my gosh, I love you so much. And you're watching the guy just go off with another girl, especially the girl you're family with,
Mm-hmm.
It's heartbreaking.
They're trying to get her married on top of that.
And then, the girl is trying to tell Penny that okay, look, you need to do this, do that, help me out and stuff with her wedding and things like that. And it's just oh, I don't want I feel so bad for her, but her character is definitely stronger than we think.
Yeah. And I think next season is going to be big for her.
Oh yeah. Next season, I think a lot of things are going to happen. I have no idea what, but if we thought this season was intense, next season is just going to be a whole other story.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So you think she's really Lady Whistledown?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what that's what was implied, unless they just happen to say it's her. And that scene was basically saying this is her.
So you guys, Lady Whistledown is basically the gossip girl. Those who don't know Gossip Girl, the woman who tells the tea around town and no one knows who it is, but it's in the mix. And I was wondering who knew that about Marina besides her. She was definitely reading the letters, looking at all that stuff, and she's the one that, leaked the tea. So I think that she definitely is Lady Whistledown.
Yeah. And I think, with those letters, those were the letters that the mom was writing with the servant or something, mm-hmm. To her lover, to Marina's boy.
Yeah, her guy. Yeah.
They were just writing fake letters or whatever to her, or back to him.
That's so bogus.
That's so crazy. But
that's often. I see that in movies a lot.
Yeah, and I think that I look how you said it's definitely this show. If you're trying to describe this show to people, you can easily say that it is a mixture between, it's basically Gossip Girl meets Sex and the City meets Downton Abbey. I think that's the best way to put it, just because it's a lot's happening, and those are the way that we have the writing. The narration over each episode. I love that. And that narration is by the narrator is Julie Andrews.
Yep. And that's absolutely crazy.
I just love that because it takes me back to Princess Diaries.
Oh, I know. That's us right there. That's our generation right there. The Princess Diaries for me.
Oh, definitely. And so that's what I love her so much.
I love her too. She's like a hoot. I love her. So that was definitely.
what I really hope was happening was we were going to hear her voice the whole time.
Yeah.
And the last like second of the episode, the final episode, we were going to see Julie Andrews just like writing. But it makes more sense that we didn't see that, because you're like, wait, who is this lady? How does she know everything?
Who woman is this? Who is this lady? Okay. So last but not least, well, it's kind of second to last but not least, another character I want to dive into, Daphne's brother. I don't like him. I think that he's just a typical older brother character. You know, he's snooty. You know, he's not going to get married. He's a womanizer, woman. You know, that's him. That's him. I want to talk about the relationship with him and the opera singer. I know that, so for you who don't know or don't pay attention, Daphne's older brother had a relationship with an opera singer. Yes, she's an opera singer. You would think that that was enough, but she was still considered a townswoman. She still wasn't good enough for him. They didn't have enough, you know, she just wasn't at his stature or level. So, you know, they have to marry people who are a little bit more equal, and they were not. So he held the relationship. You know, they would sneak off and have, you know, sex and do all this type of rendezvous. But ultimately, I felt like he still could have pushed through, and I felt like he waited till it was too late. He got screwed, obviously. But I felt like if he really wanted her, he could have made it happen.
Yeah, really good at it. And I mean, he could have ran away with her easily. He had the family money to do so. He could have had a life with her. I just think that, you know, it's the family name that he's thinking of, which, you know, it's that time. Of course they're thinking of that. But that's what's tricky. Sorry, the dog started barking.
Oh, you're fine.
No. Yeah, no, the brother, you think about him and he's just like longing for something, but you could also see that look how much he went out of his way to deal with the Duke because of the sister and like things like that, or whenever he thought like the Duke is being like horrible or whatever, he's gonna, you know, it's about, you know, the whole family thing. So
yeah, it's like they keep the drama, but like still certain things you're still not changing, like having to like have like the marriage season, having to duel with her and Daphne, him and Daphne having a relationship with the brother and then having to get married, her saving him, you know, certain things, having to marry somebody off, you know, those things are still not going to change. So that's how I like Shonda, because like she kept like all the hardcore period style elements are not going to change. Also, she humanized them and made them relatable to us.
Yeah, no, I get that. And the characters are just so fun to watch with the music and the colorful scenes, the costume design, which like I'm absolutely in love with. I was reading somewhere that the girl who plays Daphne, she has like 90 something dresses that she was wearing, that she has to wear throughout, you know, everything. And you have to think about the amount of time that they spent to put in to create these costumes and create the sets. That's amazing. The wigs, the queen's wigs.
Let's talk about the queen. That's what I wanted to end off with. Let's talk about the queen. Now, I know the queen, you know, her character was, she's obviously the queen. You know, we didn't talk that much about her. I hope that we get to like see more of the queen, you know, during the like next seasons. I do like her character. I like the lady who plays her as an actress. She's a member of the LGBTQ community as well. So I was looking her page. She's also doing an interview with Naomi Campbell on her podcast tomorrow on her like YouTube. So I'm like, the queen is like, she's cracking. So let's talk about her. The one thing that I liked about her was the outfits, the hair. That in specific was something that Shonda did modernize. Like she had wigs that were like dreads and faux locks. You know, her wigs were different colors. You know, people still had the hair and the makeup and those things. But let's talk about the aesthetic. I guess what do you think about the aesthetic? Now we're talking about the queen.
For it, I love it. I approve. It's absolutely beautiful and perfect and colorful, and I love colors. So I was just watching it and I'm like, oh my God, like even if you're not paying attention to what's going on in the story, that's what another thing is, I think whenever you look at a great show, you don't have to listen to the storyline whatsoever. Just look at it and listen to the music.
Yeah.
I'm just watching and looking at the music and you're having a good time. So then, you know, obviously focus on what's going on the screen too. But the aesthetic, you know, her wigs were amazing. I think that I really did like how, you know, as you said, she had like dreadlocks in one of them, that you look at those things and you're like, well, that's really beautiful. And the fact that she's able to incorporate older styles and actual Black styles into having regal wigs like that, I think it's very commendable, and it's something beautiful to be seeing.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really, really pretty. I remember at acting school, we didn't have no dread wigs. They didn't make those things, make it look like really Black people hair. They was slapping wigs on us that looked wrong, and it was just a mess. So it's nice to like see those things. And I think for people who are actors or people, who do study like period styles or, truly like the art and want to show people, obviously in modern day when we're not really in those times, it's nice to actually look like you. So I think that's cool.
And that's what I mean. I love the fact that she is this really strong Black woman who's single, and she is, she is getting shit done. She is wanting to know people's business, and I think that is like the way that they have portrayed her is a really strong way. And I know I have read some comments and reviews of people that they just didn't like how just the fact that she was Black, and why, because of the time era too. They were like, this wasn't England in the 1800s. And then I'm like, okay, like I understand that this wasn't England in the 1800s, but you're watching a show and it's not based off of a true story. If that's the case, like, would you think that, Harry Potter is based in England?
Yeah.
But, we're not sitting there watching it like, oh, those goblins aren't real,
This is not real. This isn't. So, but that's what, that's what I was asking. I don't think they frame it as for example, the Duke and Daphne being an interracial relationship, like the Duke being Black and Daphne being white. They just place them as Duke and Daphne, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing I love about this show is because we don't, that's exactly what you were saying. It's very colorblind. We don't see the disparities of what normal racial interracial relationships would look like, because it's not an issue here.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful because whenever you're, especially in this world that we live in now, whenever you watch things like this, you think that there's a political message behind everything, and this is a subtle one of, look, we're all equal, and I love that.
And everyone can exist in these worlds. And with casting, they made, obviously, okay, so the Duke is Black or of color. He's like the strong male protagonist. They still, I think that the casting on it was spot on. And, a lot, of course, like Daphne could have been racially ambiguous or another color, or the two leads could have been, both the same color. But I think that this works, and I like this casting. And I do like equal casting. I do believe that I'm a Black woman, that people, that Black people do need opportunities in our field. But I felt like the casting for this was perfect. I loved having the Duke being Black. I love the Queen being Black. I love seeing people of different colors, like East Asian. We have some people, Indian people. We have people from all different backgrounds. Just all in the house. Some of the servants are Black. The kings were Black. The fighter was Black. It was a lot of things that we were able to see of different races. So I think that's really what they call it, a true Shondaland.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, very inclusive. Okay, so is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that this was a really amazing opportunity, and thank you so much for having me on your show.
This was so fun.
Fun, and I love this show, and to be able to talk about it with you, and congratulations on your page, Chyna. It's been awesome. And if you guys want to check out my stuff, you can go to at TD Talks TV on Instagram and check out my reviews. Give me a follow, and make sure you're following Chyna's page. Subscribe, like, and do everything else you do on
all that stuff. Make sure, you guys, I'm on my way to 400 subscribers, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'm gonna put Tanya, I'm gonna put all of Tanya's TD Talks TV on the bottom. She just did this really cool post about spring breakers, I will say. That brought me back in time, honey. So I'm gonna have to watch that again. We're gonna have to talk about spring breakers next. That's fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Okay, so you guys leave a comment and let us know if this is something, again, that you would like to see. If you want Tanya and I to talk about more TV shows. I've been doing The Bachelor. We've been talking about everything, so I'm happy that we're able to have this conversation.